On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1969. We're going to be taking a look at Glen Campbell and Stevie Wonder, and they're going to be performing Blowin' in the Wind. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So I will be jumping into this one about halfway through just to give you guys fair warning. If you want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it, then there's a link in the description below as always. And just to let you know that I have isolated the vocals, which we'll probably get into when we just start the analysis, but I have taken down the backing ever so slightly for the performance because I think it's a little bit overpowering in the original video and we don't really get to hear what Glen and Stevie are saying at the beginning, or at least not that clearly. But let me take it back and we'll have a listen. Let's see how they get on.
I want to do another number with you. You're the best soul man in the world.
Let's do a tune that's real soulful and it's got the thing.
Soulful, okay.
You want to do it?
Yeah. You might come out half sold, but...
You know, Glen actually thinks to one of people like you, I had the pleasure of going all over the world and meeting a lot of people and doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of my questions answered.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's still a few of my questions that remain unanswered.
Right. I hope we get to see him in our lifetime, too.
I do too. Perhaps by stringing this song together, maybe we can make the people understand exactly what we're talking about.
I certainly hope so.
You ready?
I'm ready. You take the verse.
How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man?
Yeah.
How many seas must a wife sail
Yeah, Miss Stevie.
before she sleeps in the sand? Yeah, yeah. How many times must those cannonballs be fired? Oh, that forever band. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you that the answer, my friend, is a blow in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. I hope they're getting the message.
I think that is.
How many years can a mountain exist? Yeah, before it is washed to the sea. Yeah, and please tell me how many years can
And there we have it. So I was planning on jumping in about halfway through it, but there is such a flow to this performance that it is really hard to just jump in at any point, because you then interrupt the flow, and the interaction, of course, between Glen and Stevie is great vocally, but just the way that Glen is looking at Stevie Wonder, he has that respect, and there's a lot of respect here musically for each other, but just as people, you can tell that they get on, and especially with what Stevie said at the beginning. Something that I want to point out right at the beginning is the way that Glen, when he's introducing, and actually he's talking, I'll take it all the way back, because have a listen to this.
I want to do another number with you.
So that's Glen Campbell talking, and he's just expressing to Stevie that he wants to do another number with him, but he's actually hitting in his talking voice an A sharp 4, which is the same as a B flat 4. So that means that he's just a tone away, 2 notes from a male tenor high C, but he's just talking. And this is something that I've started to notice with great vocalists, is that they have just great vocal technique all the time. Even with their talking voice, they hit notes that are really high for if you were trying to sing them. And I've seen vocal coaches on YouTube who do this as an example, and they use their voice and they say, just talk really expressively and your voice will go up. But as you can hear when I talk, my voice goes up to about here, which is nowhere near where Glen's voice is going. So he's going all the way up to there. I want to do another. And even for me, up there, my voice doesn't naturally go there. I would have to support and go, ah, and concentrate on trying to get my voice to that place. But with Glen's voice, we'll see later on in the performance. And if I just take it through, we'll have a little fast forward, because you'll see where the A sharp 4s actually come in. And this is why I think Glen Campbell just had such a great voice, because naturally when he talked, he got into this head voice place, but then when he's singing, he can do exactly the same thing and add the techniques, vibrato, holding the notes, hitting pitches intentionally and really accurately. But he already had the ability to get up into this male tenor range. And when we're looking at the piano, you'll see that the A4, and I was just talking about an A sharp 4 that he's hitting, just expressing himself talking. The A4 is the top end of the male tenor range. So he's hitting notes already just talking that guys wouldn't be able to do. And certainly even when guys are talking, as when I talk, my voice doesn't naturally go up there. But with great singers, more often than not, you'll find this, that they just do it naturally and have this natural propensity to sing and talk with great vocal technique. But have a listen to this and have a look at it on the pitch monitoring software.
How many years can a man?
So we can see that Glen's coming in on the F4, and the pitch where he was just speaking at was at an A sharp 4. So you can hear the clarity in his tone. This is really comfortable, and with the vibrato that he's adding to his voice, getting these notes to sing. A really important thing to look out for as well is the difference between Glen's vibrato and Stevie's vibrato. We can see that, pitch-wise, these two guys are just crazy accurate, but I'm just going to let it play through a little bit more. So we can see these wobbles over that F4 going above the line and below the line.
Before it is washed to the sea.
And you can hear the way that we go up to that A sharp 4 again. This note is a continuation of the previous note down in that F4 space. So it means that he's getting up into that head voice space, just making that tone really nice and clear, but he's not taking up any weight in his sound. He's not kind of belting this in chest voice. He's just releasing it up there. So you can hear it's actually a really nice mix of head voice and chest voice. He's not totally handing off to head voice, but you can certainly hear that quality in there. So let's take it back, just listen to Stevie's opening vocal.
How many roads must a man walk down.
So the first thing to point out is Stevie's voice, rather than it being kind of chest voice and then mixed voice and then head voice, when Glen ascends, he gets that really clean tone in that head voice space, whereas Stevie, when he ascends, he just belts it out in chest voice. And when we're going down to this G4, I should say up to the G4, you can see how he's got this vibrato that is above the note rather than being above and below. And that's going to make it sound more dramatic, as we've said in lots of analysis videos before. When we got up to this G4, you can see how we're just flat of it, but we then just ascend and then hit that note dead on with vibrato just above the note. And we do dip a little bit below it, but it's not even above and below like Glen's is. But what you'll find is that Stevie Wonder's pitch is so accurate. This is probably, for a held note, the most accurate that you're going to get, because it's just an ever so slight incline. I mean, sometimes you'll see it more dramatically go up to pitch or go down to pitch, because with a held note it means that you get the opportunity to just edit it as you go with your own ear when you can hear your own voice to make it more accurate. But here, I mean, when we're looking at auto-tune, it's a good comparison actually, because you can see how we're not directly over that line, but then we are for a split second before the vibrato, and auto-tune would have been directly on the line all the time. That's just what it does. So this is a great example of a natural voice that's just really accurate. And here, again, that F4, it sounds pitch perfect because it is to the ear. It's not directly over lines all the time, but that's the point, because we've got soul in this performance, and that's what really stands out when you're hearing a natural voice, is the amount of expression that we are allowed to experience with great singers like this. I've just grabbed the guitar because another interesting thing to look at is the way that Glen is looking at what Stevie's playing at the beginning. I'm not sure how rehearsed this performance is, because it just seems like Glen is picking it up as he goes along. He's having a little mess around with the B flat major pentatonic shape, but he kind of gets the key and plays around with a few notes. But let's have a listen and see what he does. And there we had it. So it's that he's kind of messing around with that.
We can make the people understand exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, so most likely he'll be taking his B flat in that position and then moving up to, and you can actually see that shape as he moves up. And by the way, this is just going to be your E flat, and just stretching over with that little finger, you'll see Glen making that shape. He'll also jump up to the F as well, which obviously you can play down there, but Glen's just using it slightly higher up to kind of keep it relevant to the B flat up here. The great thing about this performance is the instrumental ability of the performers on stage, but also their voices. You want to hear them really clearly and just have everything else under the voices, whereas if you go and watch that original video, I have taken it down a bit here, but you'll hear on the original that it's just overpowering the vocal a little bit, and it does tend to take the focus away from that, but you still get to appreciate what a great performance it is. But let's go back to the vocal phrase we were looking at a second ago.
Yeah, before it is washed to the sea. Yeah, and please tell me how.
And there, with Glen's voice, he's actually going up to a D5 with, again, great vocal technique. He has that release into head voice, and it sounds so easy for him to hit these notes. Let's just have a look at the piano, because the D5, I mean, we're obviously above the C5, so it means that we are all the way up here. And let me get the arrow so it makes it a little bit more clear. And that note there, I mean, countertenor range pretty much, even though it will be referred to as the male tenor range, just countertenor range that seems so easy to Glen. And I know that he's not hitting this in chest voice. So when you're talking about classical classifications with voices, that a true tenor is hitting these notes in chest voice. But to just give you an idea that even just accessing these notes full stop is difficult for guys, because you have to have great vocal technique to thin out your voice in order to hit the notes in the first place. But then to have them under this kind of control is, again, a whole nother thing that you've got to try and work on to get the notes, but then to control them, to be able to apply vibrato, to hold pitch, and all of these things. But I mean, Glen makes it look so easy, and Stevie's voice is just unmistakable because of the way that he is still hitting the same notes, but he just leans into it all the time, and he's really accurate pitch-wise. But then he's not accurate pitch-wise when he's just throwing runs together. Sometimes he's not hitting the notes very accurately, but it's because of the overall emotion to the sound. That's why you're not really taking it in, that he's not hitting the notes, because you're listening to this guy just express himself. And that's another thing that great singers do, is they just throw caution to the wind, not worrying about hitting pitches. But more often than not, obviously they are very accurate, but they will have stages where they're just getting into it. And when talking about getting into it, look at how Glen is so into this performance, looking at Stevie the whole time, but the way that he's just shaking his head backwards and forwards, it must have been great to see this live, to have been there, but also just to see a great musician just getting into another great musician's performance. Glen also has a great tonal consistency to his voice when he is singing these notes that, you know, might be an 8#4, but then when he goes down into his chest voice, he doesn't make it really heavy. He's still got a lighter quality to it. Let's have a listen.
Can some people exceed?
There, so he had that. Can some people, and he's still in that kind of place, rather than going and putting lots of body into it. He's just singing on that equal plane tone wise. I think we're just about to get an example of Stevie hitting some high notes but still belting in chest. So you can hear how when Stevie ascends, he doesn't go into that head voice place. He still keeps it all in chest, and that's where you get that rasp on the sound as well. So two totally different voices, totally different artists, but harmonizing with each other so well. Great instrumentalists in their own right as well. But it just goes to show what top quality musicians can do. It doesn't matter the style or the genre. They can just have that middle ground where they can blend their voices together, complement each other, and just put on a great performance, as this is one of those standalone performances that you don't think could really work if you saw it on paper, with all of the different sounds and influences that we've got going on. But it's just great to see a couple of great artists just let loose on, you know, a great original composition that was, you know, a folk song, but just taking it to their own place. But thank you guys for requesting this video for me to take a look at. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Keep those requests and suggestions coming. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!